you're doing everything right. You go to work, you pay your bills, you try to save, and yet, at the end of the month, there's almost nothing left. Here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because nobody told you the actual rules of the game. Nearly 60% of Americans cannot cover an unexpected $1,000 expense. Not people who are reckless, not people who don't try, people who work full-time, people who do everything they were told to do. And yet, the math never quite works out. In 1970, the middle class held about 62% of America's total wealth. Today, that number has fallen below 27%. We have more financial advice available than ever before. More books, more podcasts, more videos telling you exactly what to do. And the gap keeps growing. So the problem isn't information. The problem is something most financial advice never talks about. To understand it, let me introduce you to someone. This is Marcus. He's 34. He works in logistics, makes about $52,000 a year. He's not reckless, he doesn't gamble, he doesn't buy things he can't afford. He pays his rent, his car payment, his student loans. He has a Netflix subscription, goes out to eat maybe twice a week. At the end of every month, Marcus has about $200 left over. He puts it in his savings account, and he tells himself, when I save enough, I'll start investing. But then the car needs tires. His daughter gets sick. The rent goes up $150. The $200 disappears. Every single month, Marcus isn't making the mistakes that financial gurus warn about. He's doing everything right. And it's still not working. Why? The first reason is something researchers only discovered in the last decade. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, your brain changes. Researchers at Princeton and Harvard studied this directly. They found that financial stress consumes mental bandwidth, the same way a computer slows down when it's running too many programs at once. When you're worried about rent, your effective cognitive capacity drops by the equivalent of about 13 IQ points. That's not an insult. That's biology. Your brain is designed to focus on the immediate threat. The overdue bill, the empty fridge, the check that hasn't cleared yet. Long-term thinking gets pushed aside, not because you're irresponsible, but because your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. This is the survival trap. And it explains something important about Marcus. When Marcus gets home after a 10-hour shift, exhausted, stressed, thinking about tomorrow's expenses, he's not in the mental state to make long-term financial decisions. His brain is in survival mode. And in survival mode, the future doesn't feel real. Only right now feels real. So the advice, just think long-term, misses the point entirely. You cannot think long-term when your brain is fighting short-term fires. Rich people don't have better discipline. They just have fewer fires to put out. But the survival trap is only the first problem. The second one catches even people who escape it. Imagine Marcus gets a promotion. His salary jumps from $52,000 to $65,000. He celebrates. He deserves it. He moves to a slightly nicer apartment, a little more space, a little safer neighborhood. He upgrades his car. Nothing crazy, just something more reliable. 6 months later, he checks his savings account. It's exactly where it was before the promotion. Economists call this lifestyle inflation. Every time income rises, spending rises to match it. A study by the Bureau of Labor Statistics found that Americans in the top 20% of earners save only marginally more, as a percentage of income, than people in the middle. The number goes up, the savings rate barely moves. This is the escalator, and most people don't even know they're on it. Marcus got off the ground floor, but the escalator carried his spending right up with him. Now, even if Marcus escapes the survival trap and avoids the lifestyle escalator, there's still a third force, and it might be the most powerful of all. Here's a thought experiment. Two people. Same salary. Same city. Same age. Person A saves $500 a month in a savings account. Person B invests $500 a month in a basic index fund. After 20 years, Person A has roughly $120,000. After 20 years, Person B has roughly $380,000. Same income, same discipline, completely different outcome. Warren Buffett made 97% of his net worth after the age of 65. Not because he got smarter late in life, because compound growth takes time, and he started early. Here's the cruel part. To invest, you need spare money. And spare money is exactly what people in the survival trap don't have. So the survival trap keeps you from investing. The lifestyle escalator erases any extra income you do get. And without assets, there is no compounding. This is how the gap widens. Not through laziness, through a system that's very hard to enter, if you don't already have a foothold. Which brings us back to Marcus. Marcus knows he should invest. He's heard the advice 100 times. But here's what nobody explains to Marcus. The advice was designed for a different economy. In the 1970s, a single income could buy a house. Wages kept up with inflation. Saving was enough. That economy is gone. And the advice hasn't caught up. There's something else the wealthy understand, that Marcus was never taught. Income is not wealth. Some of the most financially anxious people in America are doctors and lawyers. High income, enormous student loans, expensive mortgages, high lifestyle expectations. Income can vanish. A job loss, a health crisis, a recession. Wealth, real assets, is harder to destroy. The second thing wealthy people understand: not all debt is bad. Debt used to acquire something that grows in value. A rental property, a business, is a tool. Debt used to fund consumption. A car, a vacation, daily expenses, is a drain. The wealthy use debt to buy assets. Most people use debt to survive. And the third thing, the one that almost nobody talks about: where you start changes everything. Research from the Federal Reserve shows that people who receive any inheritance, even a modest one, accumulate significantly more wealth over their lifetime than those who don't. Not because of the money itself, because of the cushion. A cushion lets you take risks. When wealthy families fail, they try again. When Marcus fails, he goes into debt. Risk is how wealth is built. And risk requires a safety net. So why do most people stay poor? Not because they're lazy. Not because they lack discipline. Because the survival trap makes long-term thinking nearly impossible. Because the lifestyle escalator erases every raise. Because without assets, there is no compounding. And because the system was built at a time when the rules were different. Marcus's story doesn't have to end here. But the first step isn't cutting out coffee. It's understanding which game is actually being played. It's buying one asset, even a small one. It's breaking the cycle of trading only time for money. The rules feel unfair, because in many ways, they are. But understanding them is still better than ignoring them. The people who change their financial story aren't the ones who worked hardest. They're the ones who finally understood the game.